Okay, so section 3.3. So we've talked about how we deal with distributions that are unimodal and symmetric. So let's talk about distributions that are skewed. Okay, skewed right, skewed left. We're still going to kind of treat them as unimodal. Okay, but when we talk about distributions that are skewed right, skewed left, you can't use the mean and standard deviations anymore. And the empirical rule doesn't really work anymore for those. Reason being is because usually when you have skewed data, you usually have outliers in that data. And those outliers are going to affect your mean and standard deviation quite a bit. Okay. They're either going to pull that mean and make it higher than what it really is because you have an unusually high outlier, or they're going to take that, excuse me, mean and pull it lower than what it is, having an unusually low value. Again, just because you have outliers doesn't mean that that's a bad thing. It could mean that there's something interesting going on. Or, I mean, the other thing could be that maybe we just wrote down a data result incorrectly. So there are lots of things that outliers could be about. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're a bad thing or anything like that. It just means that, you might have something interesting in your data, or maybe you just have something written down incorrectly. So that's what causes skewing. Okay, and especially if there's lots of variability as well too. So when it comes to skewing and summarizing their distributions, other than by looking at the graph, we're going to look at a lot of things that you already kind of know about. We're going to look at the median. So the median ends up being what we would usually consider the typical value. Okay, now this isn't, like what we talked about when we were looking at the shape and things like that, in categorical. We're not this isn't going to be the tallest bar, just like in the mean was pretty much the tallest bar when you had symmetrical data. The mean and the mode were kind of the same. And here, the median may not be the tallest bar. Okay. So it has a possibility that it might be depending on your data set, but it doesn't have to be. So the median is just like any median that you know about when you learned about mean, median, and mode in other math classes. So it's the value that would be right in the middle of a sample of data sorted from the smallest to the largest. You must be sorted smallest to largest. Okay? And note, if the median is stuck between two values, then you need to find the average. Again, we're going to let the calculator and we're going to let StatCrunch do all that work for us. Speaking of the calculator, I'm going to boot that calculator up because it's going to give us lots of information that we want to know. Okay? So again, I'm letting the calculator do the dirty work for us. There isn't a lot I want you to do by hand. Occasionally you have to do some stuff by hand, but for the most part, we want the calculator to help us out. Okay? Because I want it to do its job. Okay? So today I'm going to show you again both how the calculator and how StatCrunch again can help you, but you've already kind of seen some of this information from 3.1. You know where we're going to go if you paid attention in 3.1 when I talked about mean and standard deviation. So we're going to use those same programs again. Okay. The other thing that we could talk about variability, because, like, for instance, symmetric data had the mean. Skewed data has the median to tell us what's typical. Symmetric data had standard deviation. But again, we can't use standard deviation. So to talk to us about variance, we're going to talk about what we call the interquartile range, the IRQ. Okay, actually that should be IQR, interquartile range. Sorry, the IQR. Okay, it measures the difference between the largest and smallest values in the middle 50% of the data. Okay, so what you guys are going to be finding is quartile 1, the median, in quartile 3. Again, all these things that we call quartiles, all they are is just taking your data and cutting it into um, four sections of data, each set representing 25%. And again, you're going to see that coming up here in a second. I will illustrate this a little bit by hand for you. Okay, but again, we're going to let the calculator find this information because again, I've shown you where this information of quartile 3 and quartile 1 are located. The big thing you need to know though is the interquartile range is about the middle 50% of the data. The middle 50%. Okay? And quartiles, what they do is they split your data up into little chunks of 25% of your data. So kind of relating back to that empirical rule where it took your data and it made 68% of your data is between one standard deviation and 95% of your data is between two standard deviations. The quartile ranges and the quartiles are acting like that, where once you find all three quartiles, you have four quartile ranges that are 25% each. And if you look at the middle 50%, we call that the inner quartile range. Okay. And then last but not least, you can also talk about the span of your data. How long is your data? And that we just call it the range when we talk about the span of our data. So, and in order to find the range, you just take the largest data entry, the maximum, minus the minimum. Okay. So again, the range just tells us, about how many numbers our data consists of. Okay. If the range is small, that means there's not a lot of span there. There's probably not a lot of variability. If the range is huge, you probably have more variability. Okay. All right. So let's take a look at some problems and let's talk about what's going on. So right here, it says these are the 10 top grossing DreamWorks animated films for the US box office up to July 2013. Okay, so we've got Shrek 2, Shrek the Third, all that stuff. Cool thing is these are already in order for us. Even better. Okay, so down here it says find and interpret the median box office. Okay. And then find and interpret the interquartile range. So this is just like what we did in 3.1. This is like where you found the mean and you told me what it meant. And down here you found the standard deviation. You told what it meant. But in this, because this data is skewed, okay, we're going to talk about the median and the interquartile range. All right. So again, the median, all you would do is work your way into the middle. So I want to show you how this works. All right. So you work your way into the middle. So if I start here and here, those two will take each other out. Then I'm jumping to the next two. Then I'm jumping to the next two. Then I'm jumping to the next two. And then I'm stuck between these two. And again, as I said earlier, if you're stuck, all you're going to do is average them, which means add them and divide by 2. So the median is 217.5. Okay? It's actually $1 million. So there's our median. All right? So what does this mean? It means that a typical DreamWorks film made about $217.5 million. Okay? That's what it means. Okay? Instead of talking about it in terms of mean, we talk about it in terms of the median. This is what we say is typical. Okay? All right. So down here it says find the interquartile ranges. Okay. So to find the interquartile ranges, you do not start on the median. Okay? You always start with the numbers that are next to them. So I'm going to work from 218 to this number up there and find the median. Basically, the quartiles, quartile 3 and quartile 1, they are just two other medians. It's cutting your data in half again. And then, so this up here will be quartile 3 because it's the upper half. And then I will work from 217 to 186. And this will be the lower half. This will be quartile 1. I don't know why I put an 8. Silly me. Okay? And again, all these R's are medians. You don't start counting from the median. You start at the next number over from it. So working from here, so these two right here will take each other out. These two right here will take each other out. So there is quartile 3, 268. So here, working down here, these two will take each other out. Oops, right there. Not that guy, but 215 and 194 will take each other out. So there's quartile 1. Again, they're just medians. I'm working my way into the middle. Okay? You can only find quartile 1 and quartile 3 by hand after you found the original median. So if I want to know what the range is, all I'm going to do is subtract those two numbers. So I go to my calculator, 268 minus 198. My interquartile range is 70 million. So what does this mean? The middle 50% of the DreamWorks movies made sorry, losing my train of thought here. Didn't make, gosh, I'm losing my thought on this. Double checking something. I'm losing my thought on this one. I'm going to go to the book. I'm going to look this one up real quick because honestly, I've forgotten how to phrase this. I'm having a huge mind melt. So yeah. Oh, okay. So it's just plain and simple. Okay. No wonder I was trying to overthink it. So it says the range of the middle 50% of DreamWorks films is 70 million. So it just says plain and simple exactly what it means. That the range for the 50% of the DreamWorks movies in the middle was 70 million. Okay. And there you go. Okay. I knew I was overthinking it. So they're looking for some relatively simple explanations for these. Okay. So that's what this is like. Now let's talk StatCrunch and all that good stuff. So again, just to remind you of where to go. So let's do the calculator first. So you're going to go into Stat, and you're going to go into Edit, and you're going to put in those 10 values. Oh, notice I've got some stuff in here. So if I just scroll up, this is what we had last time. Clear that out and hit Enter. Now I'm ready to go. So let's put these in here. Sorry, I got to jump to the page that has all the numbers so that way I don't have to flip back and forth. Here we go. 441, 323, 268, 268, 218, 217, 215, 198, 94, 186. And notice we ended at number 10, so that means I've got my 10 entries in here, so I know this is all valid. So again, we want to find the median and the quartiles. So if you go back to Stat and you click over to Calculate, right there, one variable statistics is what we want to run. So hit Enter. Again, hit Enter 3 times or scroll down to Calculate and hit Enter. It's your call. 1, 2, 3. All right. So this is where we need to scroll down because this is all the information we want right here. Notice it gives you the max. It gives you the min. If you want to find the range, just subtract those two numbers. Hey, look, quartile 3, 268. Quartile 1, the 198 that we talked about. So there's that information. So we just subtract those two to get the interquartile range. There's that median we found. So again, you don't have to do this by hand. If you're doing it by hand, I think you're wasting your time. Okay, speed things up. Let the calculator do some work for you. Okay, all you gotta do is just put in the data. Although that wasn't a lot of data to work with, so this one would have been easy to do by hand. But not everything is going to be a small set of data. And plus, on the other side is most of the time your data is not in order. So you might as well just go put it in the calculator and let it do its job, because it will make sure that it knows what's going on. Okay, so it can work with all the order anyway. Okay, speaking of order, so what you can do, if your data is not in order and you want to look at it in order, I hit stat, and right here this is called sort A, sort D. This means sort ascending, sort descending. Okay, so if you want to sort your data when it's not in order, come in here after you put in your data, of course. After you put in your data, go to stat, scroll down to sort A, and now it's going to play dumb, and it says, okay, what do you want me to sort? Notice all of your lists are down here above 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we want the blue L1. So if I hit second and 1, see it puts L1 in there, close it, hit enter, and it says done. So that means if you go back in and you look at your list, it has now been sorted ascending. Okay? Descending, we'll have it from the highest on down, which is what we originally put in. So if you need to sort your list, it's right out here. You just click on the sort that you want, ascending, descending. So ascending is smallest to largest. Descending is from largest to smallest. Okay? So let's do descending. So again, all you do now is tell it what list. Second 1, close it, hit enter, it's done. Go back to stat, click on edit, and there's the list that we put in originally. So your calculator can sort all that information for you, but again, you don't have to, because all you really want to do is go into stat and have it calculate one variable statistics for you. And scroll down, and there's all the information you need. In StatCrunch, so putting in our numbers that we have, we got 441, and yeah, I'm not going to title it. You can title it if you want. 323, 268, 268, 218, 217, 215, 198, 194, 186. And again, I ended on 10. So there we go. Some things you can do. Again, right here, you can have it. There is a way to sort it. Where did you go? Columns. Orderings. Sort table, ascending, descending. I knew it was somewhere. So if your data is not in order here and you put it in, if you go right to the arrow that is on each column, so if I click on the, well, I mean, of course, once I'm in here and I've got some information, click on that little arrow, and then right there I can sort it descending, ascending. So there's ascending. So it can sort it right there for you. And then again, all we want to run is statistics on this. Same statistics that we ran last time. So we're going to do a column. Okay, we want variable 1 because that's where we got our information. And then here's all the stuff. So hey, it actually tells us our range. Hey, there's Q1 and Q3. So you can subtract those two to get your interquartile range. There's the median. Okay, let the calculators do their job for you. Although again, like I said, there's not a lot of information that I gave you right here. So it's okay if you did this one by hand. It's not that bad. But that's what section 3.3 is about. They're just going to give you some data and say, hey, what's the median? What's the interquartile range? Okay? That's all they're asking. This is the only example I have because it really is just like this. It is this easy. My advice, don't do it by hand. Just let the calculator do the work and fill in your answers. You got this. Okay? So median and interquartile range are what we're going to use for skewed data. Okay? So now you're ready for questions 24 through 33. All right. And on that note, have fun.